Nobody would think I was high.
Who would believe it?
Specific stickers. Mine doesn't have that.
It's a big blue sticker that said, "My eyes are dilated from an eye exam," and it had like a little cartoon character on it. But I mean, I saved it in case I. Never mind.
In case you need
I
it.
was gonna say, people could just buy a roll of those.
Yeah, I had them done today. Still blurry.
Yeah.
Now he tells me today that, Mel, you're a candidate for getting a shot in the eye. I said, no, I'm not.
Whew.
That's what I did.
Yeah. Eye drops
I
it
said,
bad
"No,
enough.
man, a shot. He said, well, if you get any worse, you know, we give you a shot in the eye every 6 months.
A recreational situation.
Would it reverse some things for you though?
Well, it'll slow the
Yeah, even 2020.
process down of my cells degenerating. But
That's
it
why
won't
I'm
stop.
like, I want to do it, but at
slow
the
it
same
down.
time, it's like, do I want to just willingly have
So he
somebody
said,
poke in
go
and prod me
back
on my
in
eyeballs and
4
it's not
months.
medically
Said if it
necessary.
continues to drop, then I gotta make a choice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Whether
It
to
would be nice to not have
get
to
the
wear it and be all
shots
fogged up, but
and
then I don't want to
expand
put
the
contacts
lifespan
in
of
and
the
stuff.
Yeah.
lose it.
Yeah.
I know what I'm gonna do, but and my son said, Dad, well they numb it. I said, they numb it, but they don't numb the brain. My brain is thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for it.
Yeah. It's terrible.
So I'm gonna try to see some of this. I don't know what.
Do you hurt yourself? What's going on with you
Just
today?
the seat was down because my butt was in it, and then when it rose up, it pinched my face.
We're a mess.
See, now you're sitting between two handicaps.
I mean, I'm not much better. Yesterday was my first day back to work in 20 days. Oh, wow. Because I had COVID. I got COVID the day I got back from my trip to Ireland. So I had COVID for 2 weeks and I went on vacation for a week. So I'm a little slower.
I'm glad you're here because my buddy just called me from Pittsburgh. He just lost his brother to COVID. Young, 34 years
What's
old.
the song? We're waiting on a lady.
Oh,
Did you
bless
hear?
him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Brad Paisley song.
It's too unpredictable.
Waiting on a woman, I believe, is like the title of the song.
Back online now.
So do I need a package still too, right?
This package,
Extra?
is it extra?
Yep.
He's got an extra. There you go.
They're in process mode. Oh, okay, all right.
All right. Everybody ready?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the invitation tonight. I'm here. My name is Chuck Zisk. I'm the Director of Public Works, Property and Parks, and I'm here to discuss the Public Works, Property and Parks 2024 General Fund budget and also the enterprise funds. As you're aware, the City of Erie Department of Public Works oversees 13 bureaus, divisions, and enterprise funds. We have a total of 223 full-time employees. Generally, there's 300 in the winter, and we employ up to 350 employees in the summer once we are running summer operations. The 2024 proposed budget is $62,081,796,000. In addition to that, we're going to
Page you on, Chuck?
I'm just on a summary
Oh,
page.
that one.
In addition to that, we're going to oversee $6 million in ARP funding projects in 2024, and also $13 million in various grant projects. And those projects include LSA grants, CFA grants, GTRP grants, 903 DEP grants, RACB, Greenlight Go, Safe Routes to School, and various other grants that total over $13 million that we will administer in 2024. So with that being said, I'm going to go over each bureau, division, and enterprise fund. Please feel feel free to stop me at any time with any questions.
Chuck, you're leaving in January. Who's gonna take over?
Currently, the position is advertised.
Okay. Can't you stay longer?
No comment. So we're going to start with the Office of Director, 701, and you're going to see the difference in 2023 and 2024. The budget for 2024 is $207,000. It's slightly down from the $227,000 from the previous year. This is because there was a change in the group insurance. The director and the assistant director both opt out of city insurance, so that's the current savings. And if we go through the operating expenses, I'd like to point your attention to 4045. We're going to go from $1,050 to $2,100, and you're going to see this net across the board in all the bureaus and divisions, and this is a result of the increase in communications due to the increasing technology fees for GIS implementation. Now, the Department of Public Works was awarded a $225,000 grant, a stamp grant, and that's going to fund the remaining GIS improvements and technology upgrades. So part of the communication increases are going to go towards the grant match requirement. Postage stayed the same. Other services and charges are the same again. A net reduction of $20,000 in the budget of the Office of Director. The second bureau will be the Bureau of Engineering, 707. Again, you're going to see a slight decrease in the overall budget from 2022, which was $598 to $580,000. Again, that's a reflection of the change in the group insurance that's calculated by finance. You will see 3 or 4 things I'd like to bring to your attention that we're requesting increases. First, 4043, we're requesting the increase of budget from $1,900 to $2,500. We've recently added 2 new employees, and we're hopefully going to add a 3rd project engineer early next year, and they're going to require some additional training. Communication, again, it's going to go from $1,000 to $2,000 as part of the technology upgrade. And the communication, education and training, and the repair and maintenance service, that's going to go from $1,100 to $2,500. That's for calibration and repair of field equipment, GIS locators and things that need to be calibrated on a regular basis. Next, the Bureau of Traffic Engineering, which is a division of the Bureau of Engineering. A slight increase from $706,000 to $715,000 in the 2024 budget. If you go through the operating expenses, the only significant change, again, is going to be in 4045 communication, where we're proposing to go from $5,000 to $10,000. And we've talked at length over the past several years about how we're at a bare minimum for employees, and the only way that we're going to be able to increase efficiencies and reduce costs is through implementation of technology. And we feel that we're very close to being able to put that live in the field, hopefully at the beginning of the year.
Why are you so low on your year-to-date expense on that line item? You're
What?
currently using about 15% of it.
Well, that's 737. That was at 1027. I would have to go back and look at. I would have to go back and look at it.
Okay.
But we were 2 employees short this year. For most of the year, we were a project engineer short. We were a field supervisor short. So we
That's
didn't.
a lot of savings, huh?
So we did not have any technology for those employees for 6 or 7 months this year. It wouldn't account for the whole entire 737.
Are those 3 traffic signal technician positions filled now, or are those in the process of being advertised?
These are all filled. The open positions are going to be in the Bureau of Engineering.
Okay.
The reason why the salaries aren't posted is because that's a union position.
Got it.
So we only have the non-bargaining and management positions listed with the 2023 salaries.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and we talk about communication in 4045 and Bureau of Traffic Engineering. So what we envision is all our traffic technicians having the ability, an iPad, to go out and do signal inspections, do traffic investigations, be able to document that, fill out the paperwork, load it up on JS, and then be able to store it and go back to it easily for reference. The next, Bureau of Streets,
What page you on, Chuck?
713, page 50.
In our case, 33.
33, yeah.
Two different books, 33. 30, Ed,
Toward the front end.
33.
This one.
They have different page numbers.
You're going to see a slight increase from 2023 from 5.6 to 5.947. A slight increase in salaries, which is contractual. Seasonal wages, we're proposing to add additional seasonal workers. We want to be more aggressive with our alley maintenance and some of the other maintenance that we've kind of deferred over the past couple of years because of the inability to hire enough workers to get that work accomplished. When we go through operating expenses, you'll see that there's been no significant increases or changes, again, with the exception of communication, which is going from $1,545 to $3,100. A couple things I'd like to bring to your attention. If you look at the overtime wages, 4006. Last year we had budgeted 320. Year to date, we'd only spent 109,000. That was a direct result of last year's mild winter. I think it was March or April, I put a presentation together for the administration. We believe we saved about $500,000 on winter maintenance in the 2022-23 season, and that's between general fund and the liquid fuels. Not that that can't change, and we can spend it all now between Christmas, but it was a very good year budgetarily in the general fund in the Bureau of Streets.
I got a call today, Chuck.
Yes.
People in Mill Creek want to know why East Gore is clear with salt, and once you come into the city, it's not. I didn't have an answer.
East Gore from Hillcrest to
From
Peach?
Peach to the end of it, whatever it is. I didn't get.
It could be,
specifics.
West Gore could be on Mill Creek Salt Run from Peach Street to Hillcrest.
We don't have the
It-
salt run on.
It is not included in one of our salt runs from Hillcrest over to Cherry.
That's the answer I give to people. It's not included.
It's not currently on a salt run, but we certainly can take a look at it and see if it's warranted to be added to one of our.
Some hills over there that
Salt
people
runs.
worry about. That's for sure. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Number 4039, can you just explain the lack of utilization of those funds?
I think, I would say this is a misprint. I'd have to go back, repair and maintenance services. Does someone have the ability to bring up something more?
She's looking at.
I'm
consumables.
consumable, 4039.
39.
Oh, consumables.
Yeah,
Yeah.
22,000 budgeted,
Yeah.
1842.
We did have plans to spend additional money out of the consumables. We were going to purchase tire chains for the winter maintenance, and that was going to get paid out of that account.
Okay. Are there still plans to invest in tire chains?
Actually, they're going to be appearing on the next December 6th City Council agenda.
Okay.
So that's a very good point. A lot of these accounts, when this was printed 10/27, there was still significant money in the accounts, but we had plans on spending it down before the end of the year.
Okay.
So thank you for that question. 47 employees, there's been no changes in full-time employees in that bureau. Excuse me. The next is the Bureau of Paint and Sign, which is a division of streets. 4 employees in that division, and when winter weather dictates, these employees are scheduled to plow snow just alongside with everyone else in the Bureau of Streets. A very slight increase in the budget asked this year in the general fund from 532 to 544. The biggest is communication. So we had $10 in communication in 2023, and we have $1,000 in 2024. The 4 employees in the division of traffic do not have City of Erie assigned phones or equipment. So we will have 3 or 4 iPads to assist them to go out and do various field inspections, whether being a GIS sign inventory, which registers the date, installation, location, sign type, reflectivity studies, which will then be put into a GIS database, and we'll be able to layer it into our larger GIS system.
With paint, do you foresee an increase of crosswalks or just update painting to crosswalks in 2024?
Yeah,
We've had a lot of feedback on
Yeah,
that.
we have a certain number of crosswalks. We try to refresh everyone every single year.
Okay.
Occasionally, we do get asked to upgrade crosswalks. I know that at 6th and East Avenue, next year we're planning on putting in the ladder crosswalks
Okay.
if they weren't installed this year. And Mr. Witherspoon, I think a few weeks ago, you sent a request for us to look at the stop sign at Atkins and Brandis and see what we can do to bring more attention to that stop sign. Talk to the Bureau of Engineering. We decided to add some red reflective markings on the stop sign itself, put some additional signage up, stop ahead, and that intersection will also get a crosswalk style or ladder crosswalk in the springtime.
Okay.
And hopefully that helps address the safety issue of that particular intersection.
Okay.
Next, Bureau, the Bureau of Fleet and Maintenance. There's going to be an increase in this budget from $4.3 million in 2023 to 2024. Most of the increases are going to be out of the control of the Department of Public Works. I'd like to bring your attention to 4034, fuels and fluid. We had budgeted $875,000 for the year. The price of fuel has been very, very high throughout the course of the year because of certain economic and political situations around the world. I know that as of 10/27, it said we had spent $723,000. I'm estimating that we're going to go over in fuel by at least $160,000. We'll be over budget by $160,000. We're proposing to increase that amount from $875 to $1.3 million, just because we don't anticipate or expect fuel to go down significantly in 2024. The next account that we're also looking to increase is 4035 repair and maintenance supplies. We had budgeted $850,000 for the year. As of 10/27, we had already spent $734,000. We anticipate that to go over budget by roughly $200,000, and the reason for that is the increase in pricing of parts, equipment, and supplies. There's been inflationary periods, 9-10%, and we see that these are necessary repairs. We cannot go without repairing police cars, plow trucks. So we expect the prices to continue. So we're asking for an increase in that account of $100,000. And then again,
Does the garage get busier in the last 2 months of the year? Your revenues are down in the garage from what they were projected at.
the garage does get busier over the last couple months of the year. A lot of it is snowplow related.
Okay.
If you're asking, do we bring in more additional revenue work?
Yeah.
I'm really not sure. I think that we're going to be budgeted for over $1.1 million in revenue. We're anticipating bringing $1.1 million of revenue in 2023. Every year we're proactive. I believe Lisa already mentioned that we're going to increase our labor rates on small trucks by $5 an hour and large vehicles by $5 an hour. And we're also going to increase the fuel surcharge by 10 cents. This will bring an additional $17,000 into the general fund in form of revenue.
Excellent.
It does help that we do keep the garage open 24 hours a day. We started that in anticipation of this week's snowstorm, so we are open. It's more convenient for our the people who do utilize our service. They can get it in and out much quicker. Again, no change in the employees. 22. The next bureau is going to be Bureau of Public Building Maintenance. There's a significant increase proposed from 2023 of $1,061,000 to $1,313,000, and I would like to point out exactly where and why we're requesting those increases. We're going to request an increase in 4035, which is repair and maintenance services, a significant increase in 4056, repair and maintenance services, and 4059, other services and charges. And these increases are due to acquiring the Miller Brothers property. Now, we certainly don't have an idea what we're going to spend initially in the Miller Brothers property, but we do know that there are some immediate needs in that building that will have to be addressed before the design and then the total reconstruction. So it's a placeholder. We're certainly not sure what we're going to spend there, but we expect to spend a considerable amount of money in the short term until this project is ready to be bid for reconstruction.
What would you say the breakdown is, given that this department is, what, 4 folks, for that additional repair and maintenance work? What would be the share of it done by staff within the department, and what share of it would be external?
It all depends on the scope of the project.
Okay.
A lot of it, we do have 4 building maintenance employees. We have 18 public buildings that we maintain. Most of the smaller work we do ourselves, but the larger work we put out to bid. So we're requesting an increase in the 4035 from $60,000 to $120,000. Again, a 50%, 100% increase in the communication. 4056 repair and maintenance services from $100,000 to $200,000, and other service charges from $130 to $260. And again, I wish I had a crystal ball to say exactly what are we going to have to spend in the Miller Brothers property. And I'm sure at some point in the evening we're going to want to have a discussion about the future of the Miller Brothers property now that we've taken control of it. What are the next steps? But I think it's prudent that we budget for some unforeseen expenses with that building.
Has anybody told us how much we lost in tax revenue by taking it off the list?
I'm not sure of that, but I know that the building was previously bought at sheriff's sale, so it was significantly less than what the assessed value would have been. And I think, Mr. Nelson, you brought that up in the past, didn't you? The amount of property taxes that the Miller Brothers were paying on that because they bought it in for sale closure.
I'll have it in just a minute.
So we just we just respectfully request that you consider those increases in the public building general fund for the reasons that I mentioned. The next department will be the Department of the Bureau of Parks and Recreation. A very slight increase from the 2023 budget of $2,183,000 to $2,290,000.
I can answer the question for Ed. It's about 5,000.
Sorry?
It's about 5,000 in tax revenue lost.
That's all?
Yeah.
And I think if the building would have been had not been purchased the way it was, the taxable revenue would have been greater.
And that's just city. I'm not counting county or school.
I don't care about them. Worry about us.
The increases in the Bureau of Parks and Recreation, again, the 4045 communication, the technology increases. We're going to go from $3,000 to $6,000 as a request. 4047 heat, power, and light. We're going to go from $38,000 to $60,000, and that's a significant increase. But we see that every year we're going over the budget amount by 15 to 20% before the end of the year. I'd like to mention that at December 6th, you're going to see several transfers from the Department of Public Works, all 11 bureaus and divisions. All the year-end transfers will be showing up on the December 6th City Council agenda. So if anybody wants to reach out to me and discuss the reason for the transfers, I'd be happy to answer them at that point. Also rentals, we're requesting to go from $15,000 to $20,000. We have to go out for porta potty rentals. Excuse me, we've been under contract with North Coast Sanitation for 3 years. Repair and maintenance services, we have to go out to contract for mowing services. We've been under contract with Schultz. Could you take one, please, and pass it around? What I brought here is exhibit of what we pay to have the contracted maintenance services for the lawn cutting. It's approximately 151.6 acres that we contract out with private contractors for mowing services, and that's roughly $8,000 a month. It has not gone out to bid for 4 years, so we expect to see a significant increase in the monthly contract amount.
For the summer recreation program, 4552, do you foresee that being fully spent by the end of the year, or what's the rationale between the underutilization of that from 2023?
Let's go back to that page. That will be fully spent
Okay.
before the end of the year. Actually, when we went into this year, we had over encumbered that amount, meaning we had $320,000 allocated for the summer recreation program. Once the budgets came in, they came in at around $350,000. We know historically that at the end of the year, there generally is a little bit of savings. And this year, there was a considerable amount of savings because there was many days that the YMCA and the Learn to Swim programs, they could not be open because of
Air
rain
quality.
or air quality.
Okay.
So in speaking with representatives from the YMCA, they're currently, next year, they're coming up with a plan, so in case of a day that they can't provide services either at a Y camp at a park or the Learn to Swim, they will have indoor alternatives. So we don't anticipate seeing those savings moving forward. It's been one of our busiest years. I know we had over 1,100 children participate in our summer rec program. New this year we had Learn to Skate, which was held every Saturday at Columbus
that was really
Park.
popular.
That was hosted by Dan Parra of the Skate Shop. He did that pro grata. He paid for all the expenses. He brought all the skateboards. We certainly like to bring that into and have that become part of our regular summer recreation program because we like to continue to offer additional programs. We're also in conversations with Presque Isle State Park. They'd like to come into the city and participate next year and put on some presentations, just like Asbury Park, Nature in Your Neighborhood does.
Nice.
And again, no change in the number of personnel in Parks and Recreation. And we have 11 full-time employees in the Bureau of Parks, and we have 58 parks and green spaces that they maintain. So they do a tremendous job in the summertime, and also in the winter they maintain the sidewalks, the overpasses, and the bridges, and on most of our public property. 727, the Shade Tree Commission. We had budgeted 2023. We had budgeted $75,620. Year to date in October, we only expensed $14,074. We recently put out a tree contract for tree removal with Bentley Tree Service in the amount of $23,000. And appearing on the December 6th council agenda will be another.
Where is Bentley?
Bentley, I believe, is in Ripley, New York.
Why, we've got
They provided the lowest quote,
lowest quote, the best quote, the lowest.
the lowest responsible quote.
Okay.
And there'll also be another quote for tree removal on December 6th. I have not seen the numbers for that yet. They're going to be coming in tomorrow. So generally we get quotes from J. Thomas, Bentley, and Star.
Yeah.
So that money we will be spending down, probably not all of it. We've been very fortunate to have the ARP funding that was allocated, the $1 million, or the money that was set aside for tree removal. We've also been putting out contracts in those QCTs So that's taken quite a bit of burden off of the general fund tree account.
Chuck, this might seem kind of silly, but wouldn't we be better off having people from our community do the work rather than taking it from New York? Unless there was a very, very, very large difference.
That would be an Ed Betts a question.
Who?
Ed Betts a
All
question?
right, Mr. Betts, I can do that.
Yeah.
After the fact. All right.
So I did have a question.
Yes.
So, we're cutting trees. So what's, I guess you could say, the purpose of cutting the trees other than the ones that are on, the public right of way? In theory, they've said that those were the responsibilities of the homeowners. And so I see a pivot, and so I just don't know. I know when I had a tree in my yard, they told me that I was responsible for it. I had to cut it, clip it, chop it.
Chuck, a lot of those trees are
Right.
kind of
So,
falling apart.
to answer your question, the trees that we remove are either dead, diseased, or dying. At one point, Sarah Peelman had over 500 to 600 trees on a list where homeowners could call in and request a tree in the right-of-way be removed. She would go out, do an assessment, and they'd be placed sequentially on a list. Sometimes trees remain on the list for 10 or 15 years. We became very aggressive 5 or 6 years ago, and we took 3 or 4 members from the Bureau of Streets who solely focused on working on trees and tree trimming and tree removal, not only in the right-of-way, but city parks. So we've been able to take that list of 500, and we've narrowed it down to maybe 100 to 120. And we hope to even reduce that more with the use of the ARP funding.
Okay, so the homeowner would not be responsible under those circumstances for removal or mitigating a tree that's.
That is correct. If they're put on the list for removal, the arborist goes out and does a site inspection of the tree to verify that it is either sick, diseased, or dying, and she makes a determination whether or not that tree gets on the list, and that list gets addressed as funding is available.
A lot of those trees die from the inside out, so they're hollow in the
Oh, I
basic
know
core.
they die. It's just.
So it's just, well, they look healthy, but the fact that they,
Yeah, I know they die.
they're a shell of what they used to be.
That's
Just trying to help Chuck.
Yeah, I have some very good photographs. I think over the last 4 or 5 years, everyone on council's probably received phone calls. We went through McKinley Park and we took down 30 mature trees. But once you cut them down, they're all rotten and hollow inside. They're hazardous. We did the same thing at Washington Park, Ridley Park, Wayne Park. And while residents see it, and initially it's a shock, it really improves the safety of the park, the aesthetics of the park. And I think most people appreciate the fact that we're being proactive with these trees, especially in public spaces, and removing them.
What do you foresee for 2024, the opposite side of it, for planting of trees, and what initiatives around that?
Okay, right now Sarah Galloway has a $20,000 contract for tree planting. Those trees are going to get planted between now and December 15th.
Okay.
I believe we have a $395,000 grant for tree planting, and we have partners in that. We have Leaf as a partner, Mercyhurst University is a partner. So we're actively planting trees.
Great.
We're doing mini gardens, mini forests. We're very, very active in that.
Great.
Chuck,
Yes, sir.
what does a citizen do, let's say 15 years ago, the city plant a tree, and in time, the roots find its way to a citizen's basement wall or whatever, and it's tearing up the sidewalk on his or her property, but yet it'll find its way to the house. The citizens responsible for it at that time?
Yeah, I haven't heard it getting as far as to the house. We do get reports where the tree roots will uplift the sidewalk and create a hazard, a pedestrian hazard. in that case, we will consider removing the tree and grinding the stump, and then it's up to the homeowner to then remove the concrete and repair the sidewalk. But we will work with the homeowner if that's the case.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so now we're going to get into the fun stuff. We're going to get into the enterprise funds. We're going to talk stormwater, wastewater, sewer collection, refuse, golf. I think we have some good things to talk about through here, through these. And since we're going to talk about stormwater first, I'd like to pass this out. What Mr. Keys is passing out is an accounting of how we spent our stormwater money this year.
I thought it was specifically for
Certainly.
cave-ins, but we're not doing that.
Yeah, no, transparency, we'll talk about everything we're going to spend the money on. So again, we appreciate the fact that in 2023, City Council passed the stormwater fee, and we felt it was extremely important to be proactive instead of reactive. And it affords us an opportunity to build up a fund balance so that when we do have major catastrophes, collapses, or we have funding available that we can plan projects proactively instead of being reactive. So when we look at 777, the budget has not changed. 2023 it was $1.583 million. In 2024, 1.453. Now the reason it's slightly down is I think we're about 82 or 84% collection rate. And if you remember, we agreed not to increase that fee for stormwater for 5 years. And our intention was to spend half of that annual budget on current projects and then take $700,000 a year, build up a fund balance, so that when we no longer had ARP money or other sources, we would have a reserve to address any type of stormwater. So what I asked Mr. Keys to pass around is I just wanted to share in a little bit more detail of how we spent the money in 2023, because I think it's important. We promised that we were going to be transparent and everything is above the board. So as you can see, out of the $1.583 million, we've spent or encumbered $639,000 year to date. So we've spent $7,000 in office supplies, $100 at Krause's department store. Those could have been for rubber boots or things like that.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Well, I'm trying to be honest and transparent. So I think you called me, the one year you said, well, that you still 3 cents you didn't explain that you spent, Chuck.
I got you.
Education and training, we sent several of our employees to stormwater training at a cost of $1,207. Repair and maintenance services, $5,542. This is David Milano Construction. So we've broken out, when we have sanitary and stormwater repairs, we break them out based on whether it's sanitary or stormwater. And if it's stormwater, it gets paid out of the stormwater fund, and if it's sanitary, it gets paid out of the wastewater treatment fund. Other services and charges, City of Erie, Tri-County, $15,000. That was for the sending out of the stormwater bill. Department of Environmental Protection was $0. Topcon Solution, that's a field GIS locating unit. So when we go out and we do BMP inspections, we can field verify and we can geolocate that, and that's going to be part of the technology upgrades and improvements. Other improvements, again, we have David Milano, $59,466. Those are the stormwater repairs that have occurred so far this year. $26,000 to WSP USA Environmental. That was Wood. That was to pay them for the final payment on the stormwater study. We've encumbered $101,340 for Amendola Construction. That's the city's match on a $403,000 project to install 2 litter traps in Garrison Run. That's the city's contribution. Excel Excavating, that in $300,000, and I think Mr. Keys, I think on one of the previous budget sessions, you mentioned that. That was the money to put the soil pods in on State Street. So initially, we did not have enough money. Once the EPA gave us, we received the grant to move forward with that project. The bid came in much higher than what we had anticipated. So we had put additional stormwater money into that project. But then we went back to the EPA, we requested additional money. They gave us another $150,000. So even though we have $300,000 encumbered, we believe that we're only going to spend $150,000 on the soil pods on State Street.
What was the need for that?
What is the need for it?
Yeah, why do we do it?
Well, for stormwater. It filters approximately 25,000
Clean
gallons of
water.
water every rain event. So what it is we put in a separate storm sewer, and that's tied into the soil pods, which could be anywhere the size of this table, or maybe 2 or 3 tables. They're like milk crates. They retain the water. They have a special soil mixture. And then once the soil pods are completely charged and full, there's a discharge pipe in that storm sewer grate, and it goes into the regular storm outlet, and then it gets charged. So it treats and stores 25,000 gallons of water per rain event.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is this summary available online for the public in any of the budget documents?
No, but you're certainly, we certainly could make it available.
That would be great.
And I just thought it was important for me to come down with this today, because I knew there were going to be some questions. And again, when we say we spent or encumbered $639,000, that's almost exactly what we had hoped to do, $700,000.
So we have how much in a pot in case something else blows up in the street?
Right now, $700,000. What you'll see here, machinery and equipment, $54,000. We bought a vehicle for that division. And then Hunt Valley for $117,000 and Hunt Valley for $104,000. Those are designs for 2 stream bank restoration projects. And those are going to go towards our MS4 program. And we have been awarded $200,000 in construction for both of these projects, so a total of $400,000. We had 117 is for design, 104 is for design, but we already have $400,000 in grants for the construction phase.
Are you able to share the locations?
Yeah, one is going to be Cemetery Run. That discharges at the foot of Cranch. The proposed location to stream bank restoration is behind Tops on 38th and Stanton, with inside Roma Park. We're hopeful, we're optimistic that one stream bank restoration project might get us enough sedimentation reduction to meet our entire 10% PRP.
Wow.
But we're optimistic and fingers crossed. The second location is going to be on Garrison Run, and that's going to be between East 5th Street and the Bayfront Connector.
That's the third one, Chuck.
Third one?
Have you said
2.
Cranch?
Well, no, that one, Cemetery Run discharges at the foot of Cranch.
Oh, all right.
Garrison Run discharges right into Presque Isle Bay
Right.
by the wastewater treatment plant. We did do a 3rd stream bank restoration project this year. We did a stream bank restoration project in McClellan Park. It was a $250,000 project. We didn't get any credit for sedimentation reduction because it wasn't an impaired waterway, but a significant improvement of the water quality. And I encourage everyone who's never been to McClellan Park, please go to McClellan Park. It's a beautiful park.
Special.
It's a special place. 56 acres, 56 wooded acres on the east side of town that very few people know about it, but if you go there, there's 40, 50 people there at all times, walking their dogs. It's an incredible park. I take a lot of pride in that park.
And so
I
I
agree.
did have a question.
Yes.
This is going back a couple pages, but as far as when you're saying like Presque Isle wanted to come in and do like seminars and things,
Yep.
and I just wondered if McClellan Park was, on your radar for some of those things.
I certainly think it'd be a great location. I think when Asbury Park came in last year, they did nature in your neighborhood. They did it at Perry Square. They did it at Wayne Park. They did it at Gridley Park. But I certainly would like to see it expanded to McClellan Park as well.
Yeah, because it's a hidden gem. It really is. I'd love to see more activity just in general at that park. It's
kind of known as a dog park.
I'm a creature of habit.
So much
I
more
probably
of
shouldn't say this, but every night on my way home, I drive through McClellan Park every single night. And every single day, I'm amazed with how many people are there morning, noon, and night. And just not from Erie. You get people with New York plates, Ohio plates, a lot of people coming in, visiting. This year, we expanded the nature trails, the walking trails from the north side of the park to the south over the small stream. We will be putting a bridge in there in January. That will be a pedestrian bridge. That's going to be appearing on December 6th City Council agenda. So I hope everyone votes in favor of that project.
Like the Cockle Bridge?
No, not like the not like the Cockle
Just
Bridge.
teasing you, Chuck.
Yeah, I'm an East End kid, so that's where I played before you guys laid out the trails and actually made them, official trails.
Yeah, and everyone you talk to up there is really, really excited about the trails and the dog park.
Oh, yeah.
And we are as well. So I'm going to ask Basil Ronzetti, the Bureau Chief of Wastewater Treatment Plant, to come up, and we're going to go through the wastewater treatment plant budget and the sewer collection budget. There's some things that I would like him to highlight and maybe explain to City Council when we talk about the 2024 budget. So again, for everyone, this is Basil Ronzetti. Basil is the Bureau Chief of the Wastewater Treatment Plant and is also responsible for the sewer collection division. When we look at the 771 Bureau of Sewer Treatment budget, we're looking at a slight increase from 2023. 2023, we had budgeted $21,121,000. We're going to a slight increase in 2024 of $22,347,000. When we go through the operating expenses, the one that I specifically asked Basil to come up and address is going to be 4041 in professional services. We're requesting an increase in professional services from $60,000 to $150,000. And Basil, could you please expand on the reason for that increase request?
The purpose of that increase, the city of the Bureau of Sewers would like to retain Raftellus financial consultants to do a comprehensive 5-year financial overview of the treatment facility and the cost of service. Raftellus would provide a revenue evaluation, cost of service evaluation, extra strength surcharges, hauled waste surcharges, and rate projections and bill impacts over the next 5 years. Raftellus is the same company that provides rate structures for the Erie Waterworks, as well as various other municipalities throughout the state. They've got a 30-year resume with about 1,500 different institutions they provided this consulting for. So we feel that what it'll give City Council and the city is the ability to look at rates and actual cost of service over the next 5 years and how those rates will impact all subsets of the city of Erie so that the costs are shared equally amongst all classes.
And with that being said, it will also give City Council alternate funding methods or billing methods to meet the financial needs of the wastewater treatment plant, moving forward.
There'll be a rate alternative. So they'll look at the current usage rate and compare that maybe with going back to a flat rate or instead of having a declining block rate, make it more centric so that everybody's paying the same amount for water usage. So these would just be suggestions that council can sink their teeth into and look at the cost benefits of those.
$100,000 for suggestions?
That's $57,800 for very relevant suggestions. You know, this company deals with struggling municipalities, Allentown, you know, other third-class cities that have the same, you know, constraints that we have. And they look at the utility, and they look at the needs of the utility to keep it, you know, moving forward, to stay in compliance, and to provide the services needed, and the cost of that, the realistic costs of running that utility.
So we haven't done anything since Mayor Savacchio floated that huge bond, right?
Oh, no,
Well,
sir, no.
actually,
Too young to remember.
well,
No,
actually,
I-
we're in the middle, we're currently in the first phase of a 15-year capital improvement project.
Once again.
And I believe that the Erie Sewer Authority will be approaching city council and the administration sometime early in 2024 to discuss phase number 2 and possible financing requests for capital
For capital
improvements
improvement,
at the
yeah.
wastewater treatment plant.
Clean up the water.
Yeah, we feel it's really important that we have a rate study, and it gives council the information required to make tough decisions. Every year we come and we talk about how we should treat wastewater as a utility, because it's a utility, and how stormwater should be treated as a utility, and refuse should be treated as a utility. And even though we're not regulated by the PUC, we have a responsibility to be held accountable for our citizens and our ratepayers.
And also,
So-
too, we have an obligation to meet our permit requirements, air quality, water quality, and those don't get any easier.
It's doing a good job.
Yeah, we do very well with what we have, and yeah, great crew down there, but,
That's my home country, you know that.
what's that?
I used to play hockey down there before you took it over.
Oh, that was probably way before my time,
A
too,
little
Mr.
bit.
Brzezinski, yeah.
So we feel it's extremely important that we provide city council all the appropriate information, because ultimately you're going to be asked to make the tough decisions when it comes to rate increases. And we appreciate the fact that you're willing to sit down and apparently no one likes to see fee increases, but we certainly feel it's better to do small incremental fee increases annually as opposed to putting them off for 4 or 5 years than having to do a large one. The Erie Water Authority is a prime example. They came out 2 years ago and said, okay, our 5-year projection is 5%, 5%, 5%, 5%, 5%. Well, that's a pretty large increase, but at least they came out and told you to be prepared for 5% over the next 5 years. This is what it's going to cost for us to continue to be in compliance, run the plant. And then the first year it went from 5 to 7. So what we'd like to be able to provide City Council is a 5-year forecast. And some of the things that are going to get addressed with this Raff-Stellis study is the importance of having capital reserve, of having a fund balance. How does that impact your bond rating if you go out and you apply for bonds? There's certain things that we have not been able to get accomplished over the past several years because we're just focusing on keeping the lights on. So,
Real big negative.
yeah, so we're certainly hopeful that City Council would support the increase in professional services, and I'd be more than happy to share the proposal with everyone prior to the December 20th meeting, so everyone has the opportunity to read it. It's going to be a big decision. Like Ed said, it's expensive, $57,000, but it's money very well spent. And again, that's going to be appearing on the December 20th City Council agenda, so I will certainly get that sent off sometime before the end of the week, so council has plenty of time to digest it, come back if they have any questions or have any comments on that study.
The study will take about several months to complete.
It will be funded out of the enterprise fund, out of the wastewater treatment plant. It's going to be an increase. That's why the increase of 60,000 to 150 is a direct result of us wanting to have this study done in 2023. The study, if it gets started in January, will have the end results by June or July of next year.
May to June projected, yeah.
So City Council can certainly have time to digest that when we go into the 2025 budget. Other than that, 4041, thank you, Basil, was important. We're looking communication to go from 9,400 to 19,000. Again, that's just a general across the board to implement new technologies to become more efficient. Heat, light, and power, we're going from roughly 2 million to 2.4. Year-to-date, in 10/27, we had spent 1.7 million. I believe that Basil's already transferred several $100,000 into that account. We're certainly going to be over the $2 million expense in heat, light, and power.
I have a question on that one.
Yes.
And we've had some conversations being sewer authority liaison, but I would love to hear, Basil, from you, what might be some like long-term ideas you have or potential cost savings, given that we're going to keep seeing increases in non-renewable energy sources? What would be some of your hopes to try to cap that constant increase?
Well, the problem, back in 2019, we replaced, as an example, all of the incandescent lights in the facility. We got a grant to do that, and the city received a refund of upwards of $20,000 to $25,000, and there was a substantial cost savings there. Electric rates increased by 100%. It just wipes out anything that you may have done. Capital improvement project in 2009, we went from centrifugal blowers to turbo blowers for the aerations, which consumes most of the electricity at the plant. Once again, that cost benefit wiped out by increases in electric. We do everything we can at the facility to try to save money. We do have to run a process that's pretty static. And so you set equipment, pumps, ID fans, blowers at a certain rate, in order to process the wastewater. And you could leave it running 24/7. Somebody raises the rates next year. We will look at renewables. Actually, it came up in this sewer authority meeting about the potential for solar panels. So it is on the radar screen to look at some of renewable sources. It's just a matter of feasibility. Is there enough real estate there in order to do some of these projects? And the authority is addressing that.
Thanks.
And I think recently we converted to zero hearth conversion in our incinerators with the hopes of significantly reducing our natural gas consumption. And the Erie Sewer Authority is actually looking at a 5 or 10 year solid removals plan. Is incineration going to be in the City of Erie's wastewater treatment plant for 5 years, 10 years? We can look at alternative methods for disposal, maybe some that are more cost effective. Repair maintenance services. I wanted to speak briefly of this. We had budgeted $365,000 in 2023, $400,000 in 2024. Now, this is the account that City Council several years ago took $700,000 of revenue replacement, put it into this account for the incinerator improvement project. We have not spent all of that money down, but we didn't feel it was appropriate to put it in the budget. But the remaining amount from the initial $750,000 will be appropriated into this account after the first of the year. So there's still some money remaining, and we were hopeful that that project get wrapped up pretty soon, but I think there's been some delays with the precipitators.
We just got the high voltage electrodes in actually yesterday. So it's going to be several months before we get final results of any informational testing on the success of that.
So we're hoping to spend the remaining $750,000 revenue replacement, and that money, as Mr. Nelson can attest to, that this is an account that's shared jointly with the outlying municipalities. They have to pay a portion of this is expense line. So we'll be putting that one back in there.
How many hours did it take us to figure that out?
You and I talked for about 6 hours and 47 minutes.
Yes. It's not even exaggerating.
Yeah, absolutely not.
A slight increase in the 4057, the refuse and tipping recycling fee, and that money needs to be in there because anytime one of the incinerators goes down, our only other option is run lime cake, and we have to take it up to the
Chuck, I asked that
transfer
question about
station.
the glass. Outfits around town like Blessed Sacrament, people like that,
Yep.
are having all of us drop the glass there. Has have a significant impact in our savings or not?
It hasn't, but I do have some information to share with you about the cost and the cost savings once we get into the refuse fund.
Okay.
I did bring the information like you requested.
Okay.
Machinery and equipment, you can see that for the past 3 years, we had no money budgeted, and I think I spoke to this at the capital meeting. We're proposing to go out and buy a $650,000 sewer combination vacuum truck. That's going to be funded equally from stormwater, $350,000 out of the stormwater enterprise fund, $150,000 out of the sewer treatment 771, and the other $150,000 out of the sewer collection 773. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have additional needs for equipment down at the treatment plant. If anyone is driven around there, you can see that our plant equipment is kind of a boneyard, and it's embarrassing. So when we have equipment that's still safe, but it can't pass PA state inspection, we send it to the golf course, or we send it to the wastewater treatment plant. The equipment is still safe and can be used, but when you have regulators come into the plant to do an inspection, the first thing they see is a yellow truck from 1991 that's rusted through, and they say, well, boy, if this is what they're driving around the plant, I really have to take a really good look at, what else they don't have money to spend on. So.
Hey, can you rattle off those 3 different accounts and the amounts from them again?
Yeah, $350,000 out of the 777 stormwater account, $150,000 out of the 771 wastewater treatment plant, and 773 the sewer collection. And as I mentioned the other night in the Capitol, we have applied for $650,000 CFA to cover the cost of that VACON truck.
Which of those are reimbursable and which of them aren't?
If we're successful getting the CFA, that would just be a grant award.
No. I mean, of these 3 accounts, which ones of them are reimbursable to the tributaries?
Just
All
the,
three.
All
nope,
three?
not
The-
the stormwater.
Yeah,
Just the
the stormwater.
771 and
Yeah.
the 773.
Why do we have to take it from stormwater then?
Well, we were gonna split it equally. We
So-
certainly could have a discussion if city council would rather see the entire amount of that purchase come out of 771 or 773.
Yeah.
But that will possibly increase the 2.5% increase.
Yeah, so what I'm looking at here is the 150,000 that you're taking from stormwater could be
It was
reimbursed.
actually 350 from the.
Sorry, yeah. Could be reimbursed at a 40% rate by the tributaries. I mean, that's $140,000 that could be reimbursed. So either the constituents are going to be paying that out of stormwater, or they could not be paying it and it come out of sewer.
Well, our thought process is that truck is used 50% of the time on stormwater-related appurtenances and 50% of the time on sanitary. So we can have a further discussion on whether or not we want to fund it solely out of this account or continue.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's, I'm more concerned about the accounting than the usage on that.
Yeah, hopefully, I'm very hopeful that we're going to receive the funding from our CFA application.
Yeah.
When would the award notification for that be?
I'm actually not sure. I asked Karen to look into that because timing is also a factor, because sometimes lead time on these trucks could be anywhere from 18 to 24 months. So if we ordered it January of 2024, hopefully we would have it January 2025, or we may not see it until 2026. And when we talked, when I was here, when we had the brief conversation about capital, the age of that VACON and the age of the VACON fleet was noted in the EPA inspection. When they came through, they made note. It wasn't a finding or a mark, but they had comments and concerns about the age of the fleet. So we certainly have to upgrade that piece of equipment.
Where would the money have come out of 2 years ago before we had a stormwater fund?
It
Would
would
it
have,
have all been sewer?
It would have been directly come out of the sewer.
I think that makes a really good justification to make sure that our constituents get that 140,000 in reimbursements from the tributaries. How do we
Rep-
change that in the budget?
We can, I certainly can sit down and have a conversation with Lisa, and,
Does everyone understand what I'm talking about here?
Mhm.
Okay.
I think that makes sense. I'd at least like to see an alternative, like see what that looks like.
it's gonna have, I would assume that it would have a small, impact on the 2.5% increase, proposed increase. Might go to 2.55, 2.6, and that's something that Lisa would have to do the financials on. But I understand where you're coming from.
Look, if you get done, Chuck?
Hmm?
Couldn't you get done?
I'm trying. I wanted to make sure that
You're
we
doing a
had,
great
we had
job.
enough
I'm
time,
teasing you.
especially with the enterprise funds, because
Yeah.
the general fund,
You were
the-
trained in these ties, so I know you're
The
good.
general fund. Next, we have 773, that's also under the direction of Mr. Ronzetti, the Bureau of Sewer Maintenance. The budget, a slight increase from $5,059,000 to $5,285,000. The increase is in the operating supplies, 4035. Repair maintenance supplies, an increase from 350 to 400,000. That's just an increase of the cost of our appurtenances, our iron, our manhole covers, our sewer inlets, our catch basins, that going up. Repair maintenance services requesting an increase of $100,000 from $900,000 to $1 million. Again, that's just increase in pricing. The machinery and equipment, currently we were asking $150,000. We can revisit that. And I think it's important to note under 4096, and I applaud City Council that they no longer take an operating transfer out to fill a general fund shortfall. I think it's important that the money that's generated by enterprise funds stays in the enterprise funds for its intended purposes. And it allows us the opportunity to build up reserve funds. So this year, there will be no transfer coming out, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
For 4056, similar question. Do you foresee that being fully utilized, the 900,000 by the end of the year? Since it's just slightly over half when this was printed? Repair and maintenance, 4056.
I will have to take a look and see.
Okay.
But this is an enterprise fund, so if that money is not spent, it's going to roll over into the fund balance. And
Great.
it will be available for any type of critical need that comes down.
Okay.
And what you'll see is that was the repair maintenance service. The reason why we didn't spend quite as much this year is when I said when we were talking stormwater, we started paying for some of those repairs out of the stormwater fund.
Mhm.
So we didn't pay that down quite as much as we normally would have. But there has been an increase because there's been a new emergency sewer contract that was enacted this year.
Okay.
So the emergency sewer pricing has gone up.
Is that the main reason for increasing it by 100,000?
Yes.
That contract? Okay.
Yeah, the increase in the fees. Okay, thank you.
No, well. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mace. Good job.
So we're getting close to wrapping it up. So next we have Bureau of Refuse and Recycling, 731. And we're proposing an increase of 5.6% in user fees, which is $12 a year. We're proposing to go from $272 to $288. And if we go through the operating expenses, there's a few things I'd like to point out. 4033, we had budgeted $280,000 in 2023. Year to date, it was $189,000. We've spent all of that money. You'll see you'll see a transfer going into 4033 on the December 6th City Council meeting. But you can see that in 2024, we reduced that to $100,000. And we did that because this year we added 4034 fuel and fluids, and we put 200,000. Previously, the fuel and fluids was included in the operating supplies. So we felt it was important to break that out of the operating supplies so we can more closely track the fuel and see what impact it has on our operations. So the money's still same, we just added an additional account. Repair and maintenance supplies, we stayed static at 425. Communication, again, a 50% increase. We're continuing to look at route optimization and ways to become more efficient in picking and collecting up the refuse and recycling. 4057, we're proposing an increase from 2.4 million to 2.7 million. So we currently, this year in 2023, we had to go out to bid for refuse and recycling. We are going to go from $59.50 per ton for household refuse to $61.50 per ton, and $131 per ton for recycling to $150 per ton for recycling. So on average, tipping fees are going to go up $300,000 per year for the next 4 years.
You sent that out for rebid?
We did. We initially bid it. We only received one response, and we contacted Waste Management. They weren't aware that the bid was advertised, so we re-advertised and we took additional bids.
How many did you
Still
get?
where it's at.
Did you get more than one?
Just two. We
Okay.
had Pro Waste and we had Waste Management.
Got it.
Mr. Brzezinski had asked me about the glass and what impact glass has on our recycling and tipping. And Mr. Keys, if I could ask you please one more time, if you could pass these around. Currently, we have an agreement with Pro Waste Services on East 18th Street. And there are collection and drop-off locations. Currently, there are 3 in the city. Glenwood Park on Glenwood Park, West 41st and Glenwood. The second one's the Boys and Girls Club, 1500 block of East 6th Street. And the third location, I believe, is on, it's actually not Blessed
It's down
Sacrament.
by your boat.
Oh,
It might be, let me see.
so they're
It is.
renegades?
Yeah, it is. The current locations right now, 726 Bayfront, Glenwood Park, 41st and Glenwood Park Avenue, and 1515 East Lake Road. Those are the 3 locations that are currently accepting glass for the city of Erie.
Don't you drop off your glass on your way to Commodore Perry? I mean, that's what
On the way
that's what I do.
On the way home.
On the way home.
On the way home. So, Mr. Brzezinski asked this.
Right.
What impact does our agreement with Pro Waste, how does that benefit the city? Last year, they collected 84 tons of glass. If we had to pay the $55.90 typical tipping fees, it would have cost the city $4,697. But with partnering with Pro, they only charge us. They charge us less than that. So we had a $2,647 savings in tipping for glass.
Now I'm confused, because I know Blessed Sacrament has one, because I dropped them off there. Are they doing it independently?
Independently from our program, yes.
Oh, all right. Is
And
that a
I'm
plus or
not-
minus?
Well, for us, it's a plus, because we're not paying to dispose of it.
Oh, I see.
And I'm sure that they have some type of arrangement
Taking it out of the woods.
where they probably
Yeah.
get reimbursed for that.
Too
I go to the
damn
co-op,
Catholic.
so.
So again, we're asking for an increase, or just making you aware of the increase in the tipping fees because of the new refuse and recycling contract that will be in effect for the next 3 years. And then machinery and equipment, we're proposing to buy 2 new compactors in 2024. We need to continue to upgrade our fleet. As an example, when we talk about repair and maintenance supplies and operating supplies and repair and maintenance services, I just think just 2 weeks ago, the month of October, $95,000. The Bureau of Refuse spent $95,000 at the municipal garage, and that's a direct result of the age of our fleet. So as we upgrade our fleet and we get newer vehicles, we will see a significant savings in our repair and maintenance. And as you're aware, we've applied for a $3.8 million grant with the DEP for a heavy-duty diesel to electric conversion for part of our fleet. I'm not at liberty to say. I'm very, very optimistic that we're going to be successful in that grant application. I think that the award notifications are going to come out in December or January.
What do you,
And that would be transformational.
right, if awarded, what do you think the reduction for 4034, the fuel and fluids, would be? Like, just ballpark?
I would, again, without, we haven't broken it out.
Okay.
So I'd have to look at that.
It's
But
what,
there were
6 trucks?
5 trucks.
5 trucks? How many trucks do we have total?
17 or 18 now.
Do you
Third.
expect
They've been
delivery
around
in
for a long
24?
time, though.
Well, okay, so if we, the 2 trucks, if we buy 2 trucks in 2024, if we put the order in 2024, we probably would not see delivery until 2025.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Mm.
I'm referring to the recycling,
Oh,
to
if-
the electric.
If we were awarded the recycling grant, we'd have to do that in phases. The first phase would be the infrastructure, and then there will be the purchase of the electric vehicles.
So that'll take several years.
Actually, talking to Mack Truck produces Mack Truck Volvo, they produce in Pennsylvania. They said the lead time on an electric heavy-duty vehicle like a garbage truck could be as low as 6 months. And those trucks are produced in Pennsylvania. So at this point, we have not received notification. I do know that we're still in the running and very hopeful that we will be successful in that award. Now, what will offset the fuel will be the increase in electricity, obviously. But they would be zero-emission vehicles.
Overall benefit.
Yeah, so.
For 4078, have still to this point, none of those, that 525,000, none of that was spent in 2023?
Correct.
Okay.
So in 2022, the city of Erie purchased 1 compactor. That has still not arrived. Or, I'm sorry, in 2021, we purchased 1 compactor that we still have not taken possession of. In 2022, we ordered 2 compactors. The first one arrived just last week. So we will pay for one this year, and the second one is supposed to come sometime in December.
Okay.
And the one that we ordered in 2021 is supposed to come in January or February of 2024.
Can you explain 4097 there? An operating transfer out of garbage into sewer? Is that, am I understanding that
Yeah,
correctly?
I'm pretty sure that's for the billing. The Erie Water Authority does our refuse billing, and that's what they charge us. They charge us for the sewer billing and the refuse billing. So that covers the billing expense.
For the refuse portion.
Is there a reason why there's none in the actual year-to-date? Or is that just an end of year?
Haven't made the transfer yet
Okay.
as of October
Okay.
31st.
That's another one of those areas where it's a little different than getting reimbursed the way that the sewer authority does, but wastewater treatment. But residents are all garbage users and pay a higher percentage of the garbage cost, whereas, you know, like the church I pastor doesn't pay for garbage. It does pay for sewer, though. So when it gets divided up like that, that's a little way that we could tilt the scales in favor of homeowners if it was to just be sewers instead of sewer and garbage.
Does that add like an additional administrative burden, or does it relieve it?
Once again, I'm just looking at accounting, so I
Yeah.
think that
You're going to have to look into that. And excuse me, I want to go back to 777 for a second. I overlooked something. But what we do with our stormwater bills is we actually enclose them with our property tax bills. That way we didn't have to incur additional billing expenses. Once the Erie Water Authority found out that we were going to be enacting a stormwater fee, they contacted us and asked if we'd be interested in having them do the billing for us. We opted not to. We put it into our property tax. I forgot to mention, 777, it was interesting year. It was the first year of a brand new utility, and we had a lot of learning and a lot of learning curves. We learned a lot. We currently have 2 full-time employees. I'm not proposing at this point that we add anyone else, but we are considering adding a part-time employee, January, February, March, April, and May. And the purpose of this employee would be to field all of the stormwater calls and all the stormwater questions that come into the office. Currently, the employees of the treasurer's office and the engineering office are being pulled away from their primary duties to answer these calls. So
The
when
young man from the Gannon president's son, he's not doing that anymore?
Well, he's a field supervisor. He will answer the more complicated questions that can't be answered.
Everyday question.
Everyday questions. But in talking to Cass Witowski and also with Jason Sayers in the engineering department, we never anticipated the call volume that we received when the stormwater bills first came out. So we're proposing that a part-time position under casual labor, 4 or 5 months, and see how it goes. There may be down the road a need to add an additional employee in stormwater. Maybe not. Hopefully, we'll have a better feel for it after this billing cycle. And that's something else that we need to discuss with City Council. The way that the ordinance is written, we're to lien any properties that did not pay their stormwater fee in year number 1, and we'd like to have an opportunity to sit down and discuss not waiving the fee for the first year, but a lot of people, when they got their initial stormwater bill, oh, this is going to get paid by my mortgage company, and they threw it in the garbage or didn't understand what it was. So a lot of people, I think we're at 88% collection, which is very, very good for the first year. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to have to lien a property for $30 that owes $12 in stormwater fee. So we'd like to have a conversation, and I talked to Mayor Schember, and he was amenable to the idea that maybe we do a 1-year amnesty on the first year stormwater fee, not forgive the fee, not, maybe forgive the late fee, but
So the
late
dummies
fee,
who paid have to pay anyway?
you have to pay
Unless
it.
you didn't pay, don't
Correct.
have to.
Correct.
That's
So
nice.
if for some reason that there were some issues with the mail, you might have been confused about whether or not your bank was going to pay the fee, it would be an opportunity for the people to fulfill their obligation and not have us going out and putting liens for $12 or $24 worth of stormwater fees.
Can't you just wait till the cost match the point where a lien is justified?
I think by ordinance, we have to. The ordinance states that we have to lien the properties for unpaid fees.
We can maybe look at readdressing that ordinance until the properties are behind by $50 or something like that. But I think it would look really bad to amnesty anyone not paying.
I agree with that.
Well, they'd have to pay their 2022 fees in 2023. But it's certainly worth having a conversation on how we want to address it. It was our first year in this utility, so we're still learning some things, and this is one of the things that we've been talking about collectively is how to address the 12% that did not pay.
What kind of notification have those folks received of their non-payment to
They-
this point?
Well, they received their initial bill,
Mhm.
and I believe the treasurer's just sent out a reminder
Okay,
within the past several weeks
okay.
that those bills are still outstanding.
Rather than amnesty, we might be looking at calling it a grace period.
Yeah, amnesty may not have been the right word.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Amnesty kind of indicates that they don't have to pay it. A grace period would be more in line with what we're trying to say
Okay.
here.
Yeah, amnesty was the
That
wrong choice of
seems-
words.
Right.
Yeah,
Or liens coming.
yeah, pay them both.
Yeah.
We notify them, so 88% is great. We only get 90% of our taxes, so I don't know if we're chasing, something. What's that?
We're up higher than
Yeah,
that
aren't we at
right now.
93 or something?
We're like 90.
Are you
Pretty high
serious?
right
We're
now.
doing pretty good.
We're over 90 at the end of
Right,
October.
I'm saying just
Yeah.
in general, I'm not talking about this
Yeah.
specific year. I'm saying, so, I don't know if we're chasing money that's not really out there, per se. When you look at the number of properties that are lighted, vacant, da-da-da. So that's just my worry that we're changing, we're only getting 90%, roughly 90% of our taxes and roughly 90% of our stormwater fees, that the overlap is probably in that 10%.
Yeah,
That's consistent across the board. It may or may not be even worth chasing, so.
Thank you. That brings us to our last one. I'm sure everyone's excited. The last account we're going to discuss is the Golf Fund 728. A very slight increase from the 2023 to the 2024 preliminary budget. 2023, we had budgeted $639,000. We're proposing to increase that to $701,000. And the sole driving factor is going to be 4054 rentals. We have to renegotiate our cart rentals, and we anticipate that they're going to go up significantly. I do have some information that I wanted to share with City Council regarding golf, specifically revenues and profits and losses. In 2022, our golf operations at J.C. Martin and at Downing, the revenue was $625,519. In 2023, the first year that the Department of Public Works took over golf operations, we've been able to increase that revenue to $716,155, which is a 14.6% increase in revenue, or an increase of $90,636. With that being said, in 2023, golf lost $30,000. In 2022, in 2023, we're going to have a net profit of $85,000. We went
done a great job at J.C. Martin.
They really have. We have a great team, and again, we appreciate the support. We made some tough decisions at the beginning of the spring, and it upset quite a few people, but it really showed at the end of the year with the revenues and the expenses. And we were very, very good on our expenses. We had a couple anomalies this year. We had to do a $10,000 door replacement at Downing Golf Course with new glass doors, new ADA doors, and some things that we had put off or weren't anticipating. But overall, we only went over budget on expenses by about $5,000. So we're very, very happy about that.
Well, I know that the golf turning a profit this year is something that a lot of community members will be happy about, because as a regular resident, that was an issue that a lot of people always brought up. Why do we have the golf courses? They don't make any money, but now we're making money.
Used to be the good old boy network. Now everybody pays. That's the way it should be.
No comment.
Is
We're very happy. We're very happy with the
So,
turnaround in revenue and expenses.
So we rent our golf carts?
Yeah, we rent them from Nuttall.
Okay.
We have a 7-month period. We rent them 7 months out of the year, and that contract is expired.
Okay. So is there a reason why we don't own golf carts?
I think it's best practice to rent them.
Rent you have in
Cheaper
the store,
in the long run.
It's going to be
and upkeep and maintenance every however many years.
right. We store them on site. 12 months a year. They charge us 7 months out of the year we use them. So again, thank you for allowing me to have this presentation. I'm
Chuck,
available.
may
My
I
staff's
speak for
available.
1 second?
Absolutely.
I hate to be the Grinch that sold bike paths, but I get calls from people on Front Street that don't know what the hell's going on. The people on Green Garden are really still upset. I talked to everybody I could, from the lowest person to the top of the feeding cycle at PennDOT, and they told me that we are just in the planning design. And yet, we put 2 bids out for Green Garden, when you can't even get to the damn street, because 38th Street is not a bike path, and once you get to 26th Street, there's no place to go. So why are we doing this to our people who don't argue? They pay their taxes, they pay their sewer funds, they pay everything, and yet they're in the dark. One day they find out everything's okay. All those folks want, they don't care if bicycles go down Green Garden. They just want to coexist with them like they have for the last 70 years. Why did we have 2 bids go out behind my back, I guess is what I'm asking. You probably, I'm sorry, I didn't put you on it.
Well,
Thank you.
I can just say by the bike paths were part of the active transportation plan that was passed by City Council. The Green Garden Bikeway project went out to bid. The first time it went out to bid, it came back significantly over budget. The scope of the project was reduced. The second bid came in. It also was significantly over budget. We went back to the Erie MPO and asked if there's additional funding for that project to move forward. They said there's currently no additional funding for that project to move forward. Our best option to see that moving forward is, everyone knows that in 2024 there's going to be a single improvement at Cranberry and the Bayfront. And they said if there's any remaining funding from that project, they may be able to reallocate it to the Green Garden Bikeway project.
Once again, if you do 38th Street, so there's a bike path to 38th and Green Garden, then there's not that much of an argument. But right now, you gotta take a bus with your boat, with your bicycle, to 38th and Green Garden, get off your bike, get on your bike from the bus, go down to 26th Street, and then look for a bus again, because it doesn't go anyplace after 26th.
And
They are really attacking our citizens who pay taxes every year.
And I
don't understand
and
why.
I understand your frustration, and as being
I
part
get the
of
calls.
as being part of an active transportation plan, there's many segments, and obviously you can't do all the segments at the same time. So this
Get
is
the major ones
this was
first.
one of the segments that was chosen to be one of the first ones addressed. I can tell you that the French Street bike path has been postponed a year or 2 years based on the additional funding requirements for the Bayfront Parkway
I
project.
hope people hear that.
Councilman Brzezinski, I think one of the things to really take away on that is that if there's any extra money at the Bayfront and Cranberry, that we should try to allocate it for that little monument you and I have been talking about at that particular intersection, instead of to the bike stuff. You know, the little,
Can I break in here for a
something
minute?
there.
Yes, please.
I see everybody packing up their stuff. The enterprise funds also have revenues, and I didn't know whether you wanted to review those tonight. I mean, it shouldn't take more than another 10 minutes,
10 minutes sounds all right.
Yeah, why not?
you know, and they have the 5-year projections.
If you talk fast, can you do it in 5?
Sure.
Okay.
What page, Lisa?
It's the very back.
The revenues start on page 69, but we could shortcut it by going to the 5-year
5 years,
projections.
89,
This is, you know,
90.
The 5-year projections start on, we'll skip the general fund, we already did that, page 90. So that's the sewer fund, and both the sewer and the refuse funds are dependent on the cost information, whatever the cost, expense budgets come in at. We have been adjusting these revenue budgets to cover the expenses. So in 2024, we're going to have an increase. We put the amount per home down here at $2.22 per quarter, or $8.88 per year. Now, the other thing, the revenues are also made up of the suburban charges, which Chuck has been talking about a little bit tonight, and the industrial charges. Those also go up. It's just based on cubic foot, Basil? Yeah, we put the price per cubic foot in there and run it through a series of calculations to come up with these revenues. So, and if you want to just glance at the 5-year projections, we have $2.22 increase for 24, a $2.99 increase per quarter for 25, $2.30 for 26, $1.54 for 27, and $2.37 for 28.
What's the rationale for 2027 being 2% instead of 3%?
I'm sorry, 20, Oh, I'm sorry, that's rounded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I said $2.22, not 2%.
Yeah, I'm looking at the annual percentage increase.
Second line from the bottom.
Every year is 3%, except for 2027.
Yeah, I would have to look into the numbers and what, it's based on what we put, in as an inflation rate and all that.
Okay.
And, I'd actually have to go in and look at the numbers,
Just curious.
the spreadsheet, behind the spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
So for, page 91, refuse. Again, we just look at the expenditure budgets and we determine what rate will make the budget balance. So we've got a $3.80 increase per quarter going into '24, a $3.35 going into '25, $3.25 going into '26, and 1.75 going into '27. 2.5 going into 28. Another anomaly in 27. I'll check that out and get back to you on that.
Thanks.
I'm writing it down,
Yeah.
though. Sorry.
Oh.
I'll still be here.
And then the golf revenue. Well, the golf revenues are. They're going up. Yeah, they're just a best estimate by Chuck. Yeah, that is very weather dependent. So.
What's the reasoning behind the massive jump in interest between 2025 and 2026?
Well, we were receiving almost no interest for the past several years, and the interest rates due to the economy and the inflation, the Fed has kept increasing the interest rates. So our banks are paying us more in interest. Pardon me?
We're not even on that
Money
anymore.
from one bank
That's
to
debt
another
services.
bank?
That's-
Well, we do that regularly when we can. We put the most money in the bank with the highest interest whenever we can. But we did go talk to the banks and ask them to take a look at our interest rates and increase them.
Yeah. I remember you guys mentioning that earlier in the year.
So they set up some accounts, some investment accounts that were tied to our savings accounts and our checking accounts. And what they've been doing is sweeping the money into investment accounts as much as they can. Now, I don't know, Chuck, did we over budget this? Is this interest rate going back down?
Knock on wood.
We got a few months. They're projecting it for May right now, though. But we have a big Fed meeting tomorrow to be listening to, where they'll start to give some indications. But that's just them giving hints so that we can all jump with our IRAs.
At the time that we put the budget together, this looked like it was going to remain static for at least the next year.
But we're bringing in.
That's what we were
interest.
hearing.
That's still, a quarter point is still way above what we worked with.
Yeah, we're getting about
Something is
close,
better than nothing.
we're getting close to 5% on
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
most of our funds.
We're still in.
It's as good as a grant, right, Jess?
I mean, the money that we need to balance our budget.
Right.
Again, I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to come here tonight and present the 2024 proposed budget. If any council members have any additional questions while you're doing your due diligence, reviewing the budget more closely, need any additional information or supporting documentation, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. December 6th, you'll be seeing all the year-end transfers in all 11 of the departments and bureaus. If you have any questions on any of those transfers or the reasons behind them, please don't hesitate to contact me. And as I stated before, I will send the Rastellis rate analysis to everyone on City Council this week, so you have ample time before it appears on the December 20th City Council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you giving us such a well put together budget.
Thank you.
You know,
Chuck, thank you.
sad to see you go, but I hope